It's now my pleasure to welcome the founder and CEO of Carbice. He's a professor in the George W. Woodruff School of Mechanical Engineering at Georgia Tech and a recipient of some of the nation's highest honors for young research scientists. These include the Presidential Early Career Award for Scientists and Engineers, given by President Obama in 2011, and the National Science Foundation's 2017 Alan Waterman Award, which is the federal government's top recognition for young scientists and engineers. We'd be here all day if I listed all of his accolades. So without further ado, here's my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Baratunde Cola.
Before I get started, I want to share two things. What I've learned in this journey is seeing is believing, and I appreciate really how it's difficult for people to believe in things that they don't see. And because of that, I always carry this material with me. This was made in March of 2011. It was the very first growth of Carbice nanotubes. And it was what inspired me with the confidence to start this business. And so this material has probably traveled 300,000 miles, because everywhere I went around the world for the past 11 years, I wanted people to see it, because people talked about it, but not a lot of people could see it. The other thing is I'd like all the Carbice folks to stand up, because I think something else is when we tell the story, we talk about me, but I want you to see this team, because this team is really what makes the magic happen. It's the people. It's the material, it's the people, and I'll share a little bit more, and thank you. So, Angel, this accolades, whenever you mention things like that, it just reminds me of why I keep my hair short, because my hair didn't all survive the journey to those accolades. But I really appreciate you being here, and I admire what you're doing at Georgia Tech. And you inspire me in so many ways. Your vision for redefining the impact of higher education on our communities. And Lieutenant Governor, like President Cabrera mentioned, whenever we talk about inclusive innovation, I think of you. It is a shared passion we have, that all of our Georgia communities can participate in innovation. And I thank you for being here today. And Mayor Dickens, who couldn't make it, I want to send my thanks to his team, because through Invest Atlanta and Stevens here today, they helped make this possible. And they believed early in our vision to grow a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing company, not only here in Atlanta, but here in the West Side or West End community in the state of Georgia. And that warm greeting, we're on our way, so I appreciate that. We also have here today, maybe what may seem like an unusual guest for this event, but my good friend, Dr. Kirk Johnson, who runs our nation's museum, the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. Kirk and I crossed paths several years ago, and he has been a true friend and exposed me to so many things that has benefited my life, and I want to thank him for being here today as part of this journey. And again, I want to thank my Carbice team, and I just want you, as you sit down, to just look at what you built. Just look at this. It is something that is unusual, it's remarkable, and it's only something that can be accomplished by a talented group of people. And so I'm honored to work with you, each and every one of you. To my family, so my mom and dad, sitting over here, Anthony and Angela, my sister and brother here in the front row. We haven't all been together since weddings and things like that. And I cannot understate my amazing wife, Jamila. She's so amazing that with her comes my amazing mother-in-law and father-in-law, Ruth and William. And as a product of all of this, our beautiful daughters, our smart daughters, our softball athletes, Zara and Zaina. They've been here with me this entire ride, with me and Craig, and they've seen a lot happen in both of our lives personally. And I've cried many times in this journey, many times. And I've lost several loved ones, lost dear team members, and even was rescued from being lost at sea once for an hour. And people who know me, who know I play football. I've had 4 knee surgeries in this journey, and I've spent this entire journey in physical therapy. This entire journey constantly in physical therapy. Now for my knee, but turns out it was good for my soul too, right? But I tell you, that's a tax on the people who love you, right? And they've been here for me for that. And so I could not be here without their support and encouragement, which has kept me going. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. You just don't know how much it means to me, to this team, to this organization, to our families. We work hard, and people have heard the story of hard work in startups, but we work for things that we can only do with folks like you, some of whom we meet for the first time today, cheering us on. And it is those silent fans that mean so much to us. So thank you, and I hope that it didn't rain today. I prayed for it, and we got sun. I apologize for those that is, on the stage here. We put the dignitaries right in the sun. They're used to the heat, so they can take the heat. So this stage means a lot. The symbols on the stage, you can see this Carbice logo from an airplane. And what I want to do today is I want to talk about this stage because, it's important. And in telling that story, I want to just, talk about a university, which is meant for teaching and learning. President Kabir represents that. And the museum, which my friend Kirk represents, is built to engage the public in stories of importance. And, folks like Lieutenant Governor Duncan are elected and put in place to address the needs of the people. And family's made for love, for comfort, for support, especially in our times of greatest need. So we ask these leaders of important universities, museums, and elected positions to be here on stage with my family because we want them and the excellence that they represent to be a part of the DNA in which we supplant in Carbice today. Our story, our culture, as we celebrate this new facility that takes the impact of the organization that we built to a new scale. Because we built Carbice on a teaching and learning culture, like a university. We built Carbice to tell great stories that engage the public, like a museum. And we built Carbice to solve the most critical challenges in society, like the ideals for our elected officials. Dr. Bill Jackson is on the stage, sitting with my family, or sitting right here. You're supposed to be with the family, but they moved you. He is our first investor, a true angel, history maker, and one of the greatest pioneers in science and mentorship that I know. Born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1936, the man does not know a barrier that he does not face. There's an asteroid named after Bill for the impact that he's made in his career, and the pun's intended. We built Carbice because of pioneers like Bill and for future pioneers like Bill. Our seed investors at Tech Square Labs, Alan Nance and Paul Judge, always remind me that building something out of nothing is hard. But hard things are easier to do when you have passion for what you're doing and you're surrounded by people and a culture that inspires you. That is my story of founding Carbice. That is my story of meeting Craig Green, being on his PhD committee, chasing him down in the hallway, asking him if he wanted to do this crazy thing with me. That is the story of 2011, when my first daughter was born, when I incorporated this company, and it was a decade after meeting Dr. Tim Fisher, who met me when I was a 270-pound tight end, 17-year-old freshman at Vanderbilt, and had the audacity to think that I could do nanotechnology research. And I later went and did a PhD with him. So I thank you for being here, Tim.
Thank you.
friends, these people and what they represent becomes the story of Carbice and our people and what we carry forward. Now, hopefully I got you fired up a little bit about Carbice, but you're probably thinking, what in the heck do they do? Like, why is this important? Like, why do people even, care about a nanotube, right? I'm thinking that. I thought that when I started. And that's okay, because I've been teasing you with a good build-up. You ready? All right, let's start with the carbon nanotube, a fiber of carbon, 100 atoms in diameter. It looks like, I'm a country boy, chicken wire, right? Rolled up like a cylinder. Now this thing is 10 times stronger than steel. It's 6 times more conductive than copper. The carbon-carbon bonds are the lightest and strongest of any material. You can make computer and memory chips out of it. You can make battery and capacitor electrodes out of carbon nanotubes. You can make electrical connectors and interconnects out of carbon nanotubes. You can make scaffolds to grow human tissue and cells out of carbon nanotubes. You can block radiation so that humans can travel indefinitely in deep space with carbon nanotubes. You hear that, Elon? Now I could go on for hours, as my wife will tell you, days talking about carbon nanotubes. The carbon nanotube is the most researched material in history, with thousands of different demonstrated applications, but it is hard to make in a form that realizes its potential in practical business. That is the challenge that we overcome at Carbice. We make carbon nanotubes from a form that allows industry to realize their full potential. We call them Carbice nanotubes. We've been shipping this material to customers for nearly 3 years. And this new facility will eventually ship over 20 football fields. I gotta use football analogies, old football player. That's a lot of material, 20 football fields a year out of this facility. This will become the only dry pad material with multifunctionality that frankly revolutionizes the user experience for customers. It ultimately becomes the lowest cost to build products. And some of them are here today, and I thank those customers for being here. Thank you, Jenny. And you can talk to them because it's real. And I always have to have sanity checks in this journey. Talk to people, see if what we're doing works. So today we lay claim to the fact that Atlanta, Georgia, our city, now has the largest capacity of line carbon nanotube production in the world. In a facility, that's awesome, in the world. And I'm gonna add to that, in a facility that also sets the standard for sustainable manufacturing and reusable use of raw materials. And our COO, Hal Lasky, who tells me all the time that he doesn't speak in anything that doesn't start with a B for billions. He will tell you that on the tour. Each year, we will make, when this facility is operating at full demand, more nanotubes than there are stars in our galaxy. And you got to think about that for a moment. All right, galactoscale is big, but I promise you nanoscale is even bigger. So this fact makes me very proud and humbles me at the same time, because I am, after 2 decades of working in this field, I have known the journey of several good people whom I call friends who have tried to do this, and they have not had luck. I thank them here today because I learned from their early attempts and failures. I flew to Silicon Valley 16 times before starting this company, sat in coffee shops, talked to people, let them cry on my shoulders about their failed companies, and I gave them what advice I could give. Because I know that to reach this scale of nanotube production is hard. And I know about 20 folks, some of them wearing Carbice shirts, that will agree with me. Especially a guy named Steven. It's real hard, right? So why do we do this? Well, there's a market size over $1 trillion annually for the many uses of Carbice nanotubes. That's one of the fundamental reasons that this facility opening is so important, not just for us, but for everybody. Global electronic and industrial material use represents one of the largest parts of global economic activity, and the carbon nanotube has applications in nearly every part. 3M is a materials manufacturer and one of the largest and most profitable companies in the world, and I am often heard saying, to get people's attention, that we are building Carbice to be the 3M of the 21st century. Today, however, we focus on using Carbice nanotubes to solve a very hard and large problem with the current expertise and passion of our team. And that's something we call thermal interface materials. So let me tell you a story about thermal interface materials and why it's been the best place for Carbice to start. As President Cabrera mentioned, we have stuff floating in space, and we've learned a lot about that in a decade of work. There are nearly $300 million of thermal interfaces orbiting Earth right now. And in 7 years, it's going to be $600 million of thermal interfaces. That's tremendous growth. It will bring internet from space directly to your home and cell phones, and it will be fast. Everyone will gain access to the internet. Everyone. We won't lose ships at sea or people like myself, and will monitor the land and seas and the climate of Earth with unprecedented resolution. Better and safer human life will be possible for many. And that sounds amazing, right? Like, who doesn't want that? But this was unlikely to happen with the old process to build satellites, which include gluing hundreds of electronic boxes, one by hand, in a painful 4-day process where everybody in the US and Europe, and we talked about it, had battle scars and rips on their hands from the work. Then spending a week after all that painstaking work to take off nearly or more than half of the boxes after ground testing, only to spend 4 more days putting them back on. Now, how are you going to have that type of growth, 15% compound annual growth, when you have a slow process like that that's disliked by every customer and has been the main driver of long program delays? This material and process is not in competition with anything. Everybody uses it. Everybody. 99% of the market uses the same process. With Carbice, a 4-day assembly process reduces to 4 hours. Removing boxes reduces from 1 week to a few minutes. The Department of Defense plans to spend about $13 billion on satellites over the next 5 years. And replacing the glue process with Carbice saves $1.1 billion. Now that's your tax dollars. And it's real savings. So thermal interfaces in space has been a great place for Carbice to start. It's hot out here. In 7 years, there will be nearly $5 billion in thermal interfaces used in data centers, the cloud, right? Every time you send that text message or email, it's like burning up like 10 computers in the cloud, your Dropbox, all that stuff. And power modules, which, why would you know what a power module is unless you're a technical geek? But you can't run an electric vehicle or a solar cell or an industrial system or rail system without power modules. Every application in this space, data centers, power, electrification of everything, loses its performance in less than a year. So why is this? Well, it's because every single one of these applications uses a liquid thermal interface material that pumps out of the interface. It's a known fact. You don't debate that with anybody. And our Craig Green, our CTO, he's going to show you that later today in the Carbice lab. He's going to show you images, data. This problem is now being noticed because data centers consume about 10% of all the electricity we produce in the United States. And the cost of downtime, when you want that money out of the ATM, is expensive. Banks don't want it. Government doesn't want it. And the electrification of everything which is the key path to climate goals, cannot scale without electrical power modules that perform for 15 years. So what's happening is reliability. pump out, these things that people have dealt with in the past are not going to be a part of the future. And with Carbice, initial performance in an application like that is the same, exactly the same as performance in 15 years. It's the only dry pad in the world that can match the initial performance of a liquid. And because of reduced failure rate, the cost of solutions with Carbice is 25% lower than what exists today. They pay $1 today, they pay 75 cents with Carbice. These markets are a great place for Carbice to be. Now, just to be clear, we have already started. This facility is step 2. We've been shipping product from our old facility, a little bunker at Georgia Tech and ATDC, and we've been shipping product now from this new facility. Just not today, because we want to give you all tours safely, so we shut everything down to make Stephen happy. As we continue to grow, this facility is sized to capture about $300 million per year in revenue. It will bring significant economic impact to this West End community, the city of Atlanta, and the state of Georgia. It will allow us to employ and train the next generation of technicians, engineers, and entrepreneurs from this community. It is also the blueprint to replicate and scale our production in other communities. We have today the principal of the H.J. Russell Middle School across the street from us. So it means a lot. When President Cabrera meant that the community means a lot, it doesn't mean a lot because we're into charity, it means a lot because we're into value. Because we understand the value of working with all youth within our community to make this happen. And this facility today, as a result of our vision and our work, represents a significant value inflection in the Carbice journey. So I conclude by saying, and I have to warn you, my conclusions are long. Maybe not as long as Angel's, but they're long. The scaling a business is hard. I have scars all over my body for it. Craig does, Leo does, the team, Marcus, Keisha. I'm still telling Marcus's parents that we stretch him like Gumby. We want him to be real flexible. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter if the technology and product is proven. It doesn't matter if you have customers that love you and pay for your product. It doesn't matter if you have the best team in the world, which we do. And it certainly doesn't matter if your website is super awesome. My board tells me that all the time. Our website is awesome, however, so be sure to check it out. There are many more details to reach the scale that we aspire to reach that make the road ahead of us hard, and I know this. But I also know that what I have done so far, what we have done so far, to change how satellites are built will stand the test of time. Because the value, the scientific and business value, is too strong and cannot be unseen. And it is a solid foundation on which to build. And that is why we are here to celebrate today. The foundation that is established, the foundation that is laid in this building, and the vision for the future. Even though I am the founder and CEO, I am not the most important part of the Carbice story. And I passed that baton, not today, but a long time ago. This story is much, much bigger than me now. The story belongs to our team, our customers, our stakeholders, our community, and it is our shared why that now writes this story. And it is bigger than our ambitious business goals. We build Carbice to teach and learn other people and ourselves. We build Carbice to excite people with new science. We build Carbice to enhance and sustain humanity. We build Carbice to represent the best versions of our America. We build Carbice for pioneers. And we build Carbice for you. So help us. Help us by spreading the word about what you witnessed today. I want everybody to follow our LinkedIn page. Tell everybody to do it too. I want 100,000 LinkedIn followers. Not because of vanity, but because of value. Because we're going to deliver value. Because when the world hears about the value we create, we cannot be unheard. When the world sees the value we create, we cannot be unseen. And that, my friends, is true magic. Carbice magic. It is the power of our beloved community, which we continue to build together so we can all achieve more. And I thank you.